Welcome to another episode of IHNA and IHM Career Australia. I'm Vinesh Balan. So we are on this journey to figuring out what's happening. I know no one has a definite answer of what's going on out there, but we are trying to invite different perspective, different personalities to decode what's happening right now. In our journey today, we have James Farrey, who is the managing director at Just Digital People, joining with us. Welcome, James.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Just
it's a gloomy morning out there. It's raining and freezing.
Yeah.
It kind of sets a bad mood, doesn't it?
Typical Melbourne, mate.
Typical Melbourne.
I was sitting in the sun, working yesterday on the balcony, and this morning it's just pissing down. So
yeah, it's crazy. You never know. Today evening the sun will be out again. That's again typical Melbourne. So, can you tell a bit about us? What do you do? What does JDP do?
Yeah, so management partner of Just Digital People. So we are a specialist digital recruitment agency. So we work across digital marketing, SEO, SEM, sales, software engineering, DevOps, systems engineering, testing. So we cover the whole digital landscape essentially, and we're a bit more fun, unique than your big brands. So we try and keep it real, try and bring the personality back into recruitment, I suppose.
I can absolutely vouch that you are a bit of fun and we are completely different. I remember the first time I came into your office, you invited me for a game on of FIFA. So that kind of set the tone on what it is. And we did an interview with Kruti Patel and she said, she absolutely loves you. You are the only recruiter that she loves. She doesn't gel with any other recruiter. So you are absolutely fun, and hopefully we can bring some positivity to our viewers. Everything is boring out there, everything is hard out there, so we need to get some perspective. Thanks for that, James.
100%.
Yeah. So let's get into a few questions on what's been happening right now. How's the market like? How has recruitment been going the recent weeks for you?
Yeah, look, I mean, obviously it's been a bit dry, a bit drab. I mean, every recruitment agency I've talked to, every mate who works in the industry has had the same thing. So it's been slow. There's not many roles out there. Hiring freezes have happened across the board, particularly in the marketing space. But the tech space, so software engineering and DevOps and whatnot, has come back over the last few weeks. So over the last 2 weeks, actually, I have seen maybe 6-7 roles come through, which is actually a good sign. Yeah. Other than that, about a month ago, I would have been probably in a worse mood. I think I had about 22 live roles, which got stripped back to 1 about a month ago. So it's slowly starting to come back, and the confidence has come back into the market, which is good.
Yeah, that's really good to hear, and that's promising. So you mentioned 6 to 7 roles in the past couple of weeks, and how have you felt, what is the response from candidates been? Has there been a huge inflow, and how have you been coping with that?
Yeah, I mean, the conversations are very weird. So you're talking to candidates and you're asking them how they're doing, and it's the same kind of stuff that you're hearing, that it's tough and it's tough for everyone. So you just got to try and put the confidence back in. I think that the main thing I've been saying to candidates is just keep going, perseverance, just stick it out, because it will get better. It's like traffic, you sit in traffic for hours, and it's going to end at some point, right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where you just try and put a smile on their face and make sure that even if you don't have any rules for them, make sure that you're giving some kind of advice, make sure that you're giving some kind of value back to them, and then just tell them to keep pushing on.
Yeah, that's good to hear. I mean, it's hard for people. I mean, one thing that I see is people don't do much because they know there is nothing much in the market. So what's the point of doing? So your advice is gold, as in you have to keep running. Don't turn the engine off, and that doesn't work that way. And
last thing to do. The last thing to do is to stop, because as soon as you stop, the opportunities stop as well. You might speak to 100 companies, 110 companies, 100 hiring managers, and one of them might be hiring, and that one that you might not have talked to might not have hired you. So you've 100% got to keep going.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, coming back to the topic, so is there something specific job seekers can do to get your attention? Like, we are at a stage where there are more roles coming in, and the tricky part of it is there's more competition too, right? Because a lot of people were made redundant, and they add to the job seeking pool as well. So what would your advice to them be?
Ooh, the advice. Again, just in terms of getting in touch with recruiters. So what I've seen is there's not many job adverts going on Seek from agencies. So Seek did us all a favor and took us out of the subscription model, so we didn't have to pay the massive subscription per month. So they went to a pay-as-you-go model, but because of that, there's not as many agency adverts on Seek. So obviously everyone's trying to reduce their spend in terms of recruitment. So I, for example, haven't posted a Seek advert for 3 weeks, which is usually I'm very good at writing adverts usually. So the advice would be, look at other ways of getting in touch. So you can call recruitment companies directly on Google. You can go on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's probably the biggest advice I can give. So you're looking at connecting with recruiters, seeing I post about all my jobs on LinkedIn. I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. Get in touch. So if you're not on LinkedIn, you're not active on LinkedIn, you need to do that. If you're looking for a job, you've got all the direct companies posting their jobs on LinkedIn. So if you go to the job section, you're gonna find tons of new roles posted directly from businesses as well. But other than that, networking, looking at other agencies, looking at other people you can connect with and engage with as well. So it's not about just following, it's about engaging and chatting to people on LinkedIn, commenting on posts, just essentially it's online networking, and everyone's not at meetups, everyone's not out in the world right now. So it's about, doing it all online. So what can you do to get your face everywhere? It's social media. So get on LinkedIn for sure.
Absolutely, that's golden advice. And I like the point that you mentioned that you have to get in touch with recruiter. But one common misconception is by getting in touch, people say, yes, I'm interested in this role, commenting on LinkedIn. That's not the way it is, right? You have to pick the phone and have a conversation. Yeah, I see a smile on it. I think you want to see something about it.
There's nothing worse than saying you post a job and it's interested. Nah, that's that.
Yeah, so absolutely no. So you're hearing right from James. Please never comment interested on any job post. It doesn't work. It doesn't work at all. So yeah, that's a golden advice. Yeah, that's golden advice when it comes from networking. As in, you don't have to overdo it, but you have to do the minimum things over here. What about upscaling, James? I hear a lot of people recommending that you have to upskill and things like that. So what are your points on that?
Look, I think one of my most frustrating quotes of the whole entire pandemic was something that came out from a guy, Jeremy Haynes, in America. Yeah. And he said, if you don't come out of this quarantine with either a new skill, starting what you've been putting off, like a new business, or more knowledge, you didn't ever lack the time, you lacked the discipline.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest bullshit quote I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah.
because although yes, you know, it's good to have a goal. It's good to, I suppose, upscale and learn new things. But also, you know, people are in different situations. You can't expect every single person to sit and be constantly on it. People have got, you know, kids. People have got families to look after. People have other priorities during this time rather than sitting thinking about their own personal goals. So I hate that quote. I think, you know, as long as you're doing fine, as long as your mental health's okay, as long as you're, you know, you're happy in what you're doing, that's the most important part. I mean, from a job hunter's point of view, of course, it's going to be frustrating. There's not much roles out there. There's not much things, you know, happening. There's not many interviews happening. But at the same time, you know, it's that perseverance side of things. So if you persevere, you keep hunting, you keep the search going, something's going to come through. In terms of advice, I mean, like I said, networking on LinkedIn is probably one of the biggest. One of the things that I'm asking as well is, you know, what are you doing at this? You know, how are you keeping busy at the moment? If you're working part-time hours, and I don't care if the answer is, oh, looking after my kids, you know, cooking meals for my family. Like you don't have to hear, oh, I'm coding all the time. I'm learning new stuff with GraphQL. Like, you don't have to always be on it, but at least show a little bit of passion about the industry. You know, I've started playing about with this stuff. I've started looking into, you know, LinkedIn, the Udemy session or whatever it might be. You know, you don't have to overdo it, but at least show a little bit of passion for your role, whether it's marketing or software engineering. You know, you can post stuff on LinkedIn. You can get involved in the conversation. So, look, it's one of those things where it's a weird time for everyone. So if you are, you know, a little bit under the weather and you're not feeling great, just admit that. Be honest. I think honesty is the best policy.
Yeah, brilliant advice. So I like that you brought in that quote in this conversation, because probably a month ago when I read that quote, it made sense to me at that point of time. So I was trying to, okay, this is the right thing. But then a couple of people corrected me. You know, one was Naishad, and now you put it on my face that, hey, that's not the case. There are different things happening out there, and it's not like every can invest time in upskilling. Life is not easy everywhere, right? Just because people can have the flexibility to work from home doesn't mean that everyone else has it and everyone has the resources. So thanks for bringing that point again, James. And I also like the follow-up question that you brought. So I was just talking with Kruti, and last week I talked with another recruiter. She also said, you know, after all this mess, a question that you'll get is, what did you do during shutdown? I like the way how you said that you don't have to be perfect, but you have to say that, hey, I tried to do this, and be honest, rather than saying, you know, it was a tough time and I didn't do anything, or not having a proper answer over there can make or break how your relationship go ahead.
Yeah. Look, I think, I mean, even myself, I think I put on, even looking at the camera, I think I put on about 10 kgs. Like, one of my, so people react differently to different situations. You know, one of my best mates, who's a recruiter at Hayes, he posted a thing on Instagram saying that he's ran nearly 500 kilometers during this time, and I probably ran less than 2 kilometers. So, you know, people react differently. People have different, I suppose, different outcomes, different goals during times like this. But, you know, everyone just wants to get out of it, and everyone wants to come through the end, you know, with a smile. So, you know, it doesn't matter how much or how less you're doing, as long as you're happy. But I suppose, yeah, just making sure that you're at least, like what I'm trying to do at the minute, listen to podcasts, listen to a few different things about business, about marketing, about how to grow brands. You know, so as long as you're trying to add some skills into your everyday life, then that's fine. It might be cooking, it might be exercise, it might be learning how to code a new technology, anything. As long as you have the confidence to say, yeah, this is what I've been doing. I've listened to a few different things. I've watched a few different Netflix shows. Just be honest. Like, it doesn't really matter what your personal life is like at this time, but from a business point of view, if you're trying to upscale, if you're trying to do things, then shout about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important, being honest and just telling the world what you've been doing rather than not valuing what you've been. Even if it's a small thing, value it and do it wholeheartedly rather than, ignoring it as a small thing because others are doing something big, something huge. I mean, everyone has their own journey. Value it, the way it is. Now, mental health and physical health. It's key over here, right? Coming from you, what have you been doing in this to try to make the best out of things?
Drinking beer, drinking wine. I'm not exercising.
Yeah, and Liverpool is still hanging on a thread over there, so I'm sure that you have to do something over there too.
So I've been watching Liverpool highlights of the good old times, Liverpool Barcelona. So it was the anniversary of the comeback of Barcelona last week. So I've been watching a lot of highlights. Yeah. But again, look, what I've been doing is obviously me and my wife are working from home together. So obviously doing, spending time with her a lot more than I would get to usually, which has been nice. Exercising very infrequently. I think that the last time I went for a run was probably about 4 weeks ago today. But yeah, I mean, look, it's just trying to. I've actually been working a lot more than I would, and naturally as well, because you're constantly on it. You're constantly on your laptop, on your phone. So I've been, working pretty much 7 days a week, responding to messages. So it's been a tough time, but also quite an enjoyable time in terms of loving my job. I think a lot of recruiters might come out of this thinking that recruitment's not for them, but it's probably cemented my view that I love what I do. I love trying to help people. It's been frustrating not being able to do that as much, but it's definitely made me appreciate the industry a lot more.
Brilliant. I love the way. I mean, you don't have to, do a lot of exercise. You don't have to do anything special. Just do whatever you love and feel involved in it and love what you do. I absolutely love the point. Interestingly, I was having a chat with Georgia Hart. She said the same thing too. Okay. She's working more right now and she's loving the work. So it's good as long as you're involved, as long as you're engaged in your work. That's probably the best advice that you can give. Now, James, we probably touched a point on this. Right now, the way you approach recruiters or the way you network online will be key. This is particularly probably pointed at migrants and international students. Even though I'd not like to say, they already have some disadvantage called local experience visa and stuff like that. Now, when the market comes back, the competition for them will be way higher than what it was, because there will be people who have those experiences back in the market, and the market will slowly crawl back. What would your advice for them be? I know getting in touch with you as a recruiter is very accessible. If anyone is trying to get in touch with James, I just say, pick up the call and have a fun conversation with him. But in general, what do you think would be one thing that they could do?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Obviously, it's hard enough for people with no local experience anyway. I mean, we met when you first moved over here. Yeah. And we, you came into our office and we had a good conversation. you have to bring the human element into it, because obviously we had a good chat on the phone. You were obviously very, I suppose, a lot different in a way, in terms of you knew how to talk, you knew how to, I suppose, have a good chat.
I was following Manchester United.
Yeah, you were full of Manchester United. I don't know why we're talking about it, but I don't know why. And look, you come to the office, you're a good guy, and as long as you get that confidence that you're a good guy, you're going to have a good chat with the client. I would never hesitate on putting someone forward to a client if I knew they were going to be a good culture fit. I knew they were going to be having good conversations. And I suppose that the difficulty is that there's so many people who miss that. Like we said earlier about the whole interested thing on LinkedIn, commenting interested, that makes us disinterested. You have to have that human level conversation. Hey James, how are you? How are you doing? Would love to have a chat. No messages like this long about your skill set, that you've got 10 years in .NET. Everyone who's applying for a job has that. You've got to make yourself front and center in terms of the culture side of things. Because if there's one thing I've learned about Australian clients, is that culture comes here, aptitude comes here. So they can teach you how to do certain things, but you can't teach someone's attitude. If someone's got a shit attitude, there's no teaching that.
Absolutely.
So attitude and culture and personality comes here, and then you've got your skill level there. That's my personal opinion anyway.
Yeah, and I actually remember after we had a really good conversation during the first meet, I think a few weeks down the lane, you got in touch with me saying that you might have a role for me, and you sent me the JD and asked me if I was a fit. And you made me do the work. As in, you trusted me to judge that that's the right role for you. That's not something, if you don't have trust, you make the decision and you put it forward to the client. So that was a really good feeling to have, that when you put the trust in me rather than you making the decision for me. So again, it all comes to the trust, comes to the point of bringing the humanness in the conversation and things like that. So golden advice again, James, as always.
But yeah, I mean, even going back to that, when we first met, I knew, because I knew my client quite well, that I knew they'd like you. So it's again, you have to convince agency recruiters that their client is not going to think that they are shit for sending someone, right? That's the end goal. Yeah. The thing is that the first interview, and what a lot of people don't remember, is that the first interview is with your recruiter. If you don't impress your recruiter, if you don't have a good relationship with the recruiter, they're not going to send you forward to the client, and they're going to reject you. So it's really important to put your best foot forward and make sure that the agency that is sending you across the clients really has a good handle on what you want to do, has a good handle on your personality. If it's an agency who comes along and has a 3-minute conversation with you, asks you bullshit questions, and then says, I'm going to send you, it's probably not the right company to represent you.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my placements who are over the years have come from personal relationships, building good relationships with candidates, and then representing them to clients and saying, look, I really like this person, they'd fit in with your culture, give them a shot, and then they're like, right, I agree. And then again, the attitude was there, the aptitude was there, and they've hired that person based on culture and personality rather than the skill set. So I can't stress how important it is to build good relationships with companies, with recruiters, with everyone. Networking, just build your personal brand essentially.
Golden advice, James. Thanks a lot for that. I think that gives a good perspective of what you have to actually do to get or to get attention of people over here, and that's probably the hardest part for any job seeker. Thank you so much for your time today, James. It was a pleasure, and hopefully, our viewers have a better smile on them than they started, watching this episode. So thank you so much for being a part of this team.
No worries at all, man. Thanks for having me. I'm going to go and listen to some. I'm going to go and listen to some of this.
Good luck with that, James. So hope you all got a different perspective of how you can approach job search right now and what you have to do. If you have any more questions or queries for us, please write to us at careeraustralia@m4tv.com.au. Until next time, bye bye.
First of all, most important, do not panic. Caution is far better than panic. Secondly, let's talk about hand hygiene. Wash your hands regularly with soap and water